On today's podcast, we talk about focused enthusiasm, efficiency in practice, and coaching for a loving, not a living. And to discuss those things with me is the associate head coach and offensive coordinator at Ohio University, Tim Albin. Tim, great to have you here on the podcast.
Thanks, Coach, for having me. Looking forward to dialogue here today.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, before we get into some of the topics today, we want to learn a little bit about your background and some of the things you've learned along the way. So for you, getting into this profession, what was it that made you decide I want to be a football coach, and when did that happen?
Right. Well, it was, I'm a junkie in high school. I just had a ball in my hand growing up, and I wasn't, by no means was I a great player. I was not, but whatever the ball, I like to play ball. And I was, fortunate to go to small college football in Oklahoma and play for a Hall of Fame coach and won a few games and had a great experience. And I, put my senior year was on me, and I thought, you know what, I think coaching. And I started talking with obviously my college coach, Lee Brower, who's again retired now, and my graduate assistant, and he thought I'd be a good one, and he reached out and made some calls, and I ended up getting my first graduate assistant job. And getting a master's degree was pretty cool. I'm the first person in my family, only the first person in my family to get a college degree, college diploma, and my mom worked her tail off and put me through school, and I'm coaching ball and thought it would be thought I could help, and I got enamored with it, and here I am 32 years later, and feel the same as I did back then. I can't do quite as many demonstrations in practice and the drills that I used to, but I can still do several of them, just not all of them. So that's kind of how I kind of got rolling in the profession. I had, a lot of great help, and some huge mentors in my growing coaching growth, for sure. And so,
who were some of your mentors? In when you think of them, what are some of those key lessons that you took away from those guys that really became part of who you are today?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's, again, you start mentioning names, but I played for my high school coach he's in like 3 Hall of Fames, the president of the Coach Association, state of Oklahoma. I mean, legend. And we ran wing tee offense. I played wide receiver. didn't get to catch a lot of balls, right?
Right.
Okay, so now I am still friends with him and the whole staff to this day. I'm 55 years old and still talk to my high school coaching staff, and where I ended up going to play ball at Northwestern Oklahoma State University out of Oklahoma. Rod Randy's ride. He's an alum from there, and that's where I ended up going to college and playing for a legend in Lee Brower there, and then again my first graduate assistant job was at Northeastern State in Tahlequah. Tom Eckert, he's a Hall of Fame coach. So I mean, I'm right now. I've had 3. I've worked for my first job, and my high school coach and my college coach are Hall of Famers. All right, and then I come back to my alma mater and become a head coach, and then I get on at Nebraska as a graduate assistant, and so Frank Solich is the head coach. Okay, and so I end up getting hired up there, and I've been a coach for 21 years coming up this fall, and so. Along the lines, Craig Bowles on the staff at Nebraska, Turner Gill. I mean, Lipo and I are friends. We work together in Lincoln. So I've been around Carl Pelini. I've been around some great guys. Derek Mason was a receiver coach here. And so I've been around some great coaches. And you try to take bits and pieces, and have your own little, I'm Tim. But you see some different things that you like and you don't like, and you kind of make it your own. with anything. And so I've been very, very blessed, I will tell you, as far as the guys I've been around, and they have all impacted me in some way or another. And I don't have all the answers, trust me. I learn something new every day. I think that's why my energy level is what it is, because I learn something. I mean, I'm talking about every day, and I learned more through this pandemic probably than I ever had with all the tough conversations that were going on. I'll be the first to tell you, it was really a godsend for a lot, and just a lot of little things that I just didn't know in this world. And so I learned something every day, and that's like you said, it's why I do it for a love and not a living, because it's true blessing for sure.
When you look at all those things that really have, a lot of takeaways, just so many great names that you mentioned there, including your current head coach. You look at your philosophy as a coach, overall kind of guiding philosophy, and this is how we do things. I guess, what are some of the key pillars for you that make up your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, the number one thing that's going to stick out, and Coach Solich is obviously, I've been with him 21 years, and it hasn't been all the bed of roses. Our big rival Miami has beaten us 2 straight years. It wasn't like he was telling me he loved me on the headphones in the third quarter and we're down by 3. Okay, it hasn't just been like, there are some tough moments, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, a great mentor. And I know we were talking, prior to starting, but just the family atmosphere part of it. But the number one thing that he has taught all the coaches that have worked under him, his coaching tree is very impressive. If you look at the names over the years, is the coach-player relationship, and that's the fuel to our culture here. And at Nebraska, we may not, this is the team that in 2001 we played the greatest. We played the Hurricanes in the Rose Bowl in 2001, and they had that team, that roster had 23 first-round draft picks on it. Okay, and then 16 second-rounder, whatever. It was, that team was they're so good. Okay, my point is we weren't the most talented team, but we, won enough games to get to that point. And I think just our players, we call them by their first name. They don't call us by our first name. We call them by their first name, and we teach them. We coach. We coach decision making. We coach choices. We coach consequences. I know that's coaching talk and all that, but hey, that's what we do here, and players respond to it. They know that we love them, and that is the gasoline to the sports car. That's you can have you get a nice sports car, Corvette in the driveway, but it needs fuel to run. And I term it as, that's the fuel to our culture. And I firmly believe in that. And that's what we strive to do with our guys. They respond to it very, very well. We're continuing the process of young men, coming out of this college experience. We want to have a great college experience, but we want to keep developing them as young men. They're going to be a husband someday. They're going to be a father someday. And again, there are times where you gotta coach. You gotta do something to get their attention a little bit different, but you gotta do it in the right way. And Frank has been, he's one of the best at that, and that is how we do it here. I can't speak. I could sit here and talk to you on different things on that, for a long time. I don't want to bore you, but that's the number one thing. You can have the best drills, you can have the best whatever, but if there's no fuel in that culture, then they're just going to be going through the drills because they have to, not because they want to. You get a bunch of guys that do things because they want to, and they know that you have their best interest at heart. Then that's when you're going to start, you can have discipline and get behind the line and get them up in the morning and get them ready to go. That's going to get you that's going to get you, you're going to win a lot of games. But you get that thing I'm talking, you get that kind of feel going. That's when you're going to have, that's when you can get, magic things have happened, and not that we've been undefeated here, nothing like that, but that's definitely, it fuels me to have that kind of atmosphere. Why you put the time in and the hours you put in, because you believe in it, and it's the right thing to do. And I'll tell you, when I was I first started coaching, and while I was married, and I consider myself a type A personality and coach with a lot of energy, and I may say a swear word on the practice field or something, out loud, and upset. But when I saw my son's eyes open for the first time, I started coaching a little differently, and my daughter, that's somebody's son, and I will just be the first one to tell you, that's when, I started understanding, there's some different approaches to some things. And, that I don't, is that a powerful thing? I just know that was the thing to me. I had some things going through my head, when my daughter was born. And so, it was, thinking back on it when I was really, really young, and, I'm the same, but I'm different in the things that I'm, trying to explain to you, right now. So.
Sure. Well, you mentioned to me that a big part of this for you, being in it now 32 years, is that your enthusiasm for this hasn't changed. Your passion for this hasn't changed. But, you look at the enthusiasm and passion of a 25-year-old versus a 55-year-old. There's a lot of things I think you start to learn along the way that help you really harness that passion and really focus that energy that, heck, think back to those early years. That's a lot of what you have is the energy and enthusiasm. You're still learning the game. You're learning about building relationships, all that kind of stuff. But now you have the ability to really target that. How have you seen that change for yourself over time and, work to your advantage?
Sure. That's a great question. And I think it's really a deep one. Again, early years, the energy out, cartwheels and backflips, and, I could do the drills better than some of the guys, some of the freshmen, I remember, and I think it's, running around, and that's how I got some of my exercises at practice, and it rubbed off on guys, and now, and you kind of touched on it, but now, I think I'm still close to that, but they're getting different energy. I'm closer to them by the things I've talked to them about. I know when most of the guys' birthdays are. I know when, they got an English test coming up, particularly the one. I know all my guys that I coach, at my position, and I try to, talk with guys about anything. What's going on with, it's not, every time I see him, it's not about, hey, we got to do this. Hey, we got this little move. It's about, and so, my energy's there, but I've got a deeper connection with the guys because I'm talking to them about different things. Now in my point in my life, I'm 55 and my kids are grown and they've gone through some things that they've gone through. I'm talking to, I've got examples of, that my son or daughter went through or I went through, or, a player 5 years ago went through. Whereas when I was 25, 27, I didn't have a lot of those experiences. And so the conversations were different. Back then we were playing, Sega or Atari. I guess Atari was over, but Sega Genesis was the gaming thing back then. In the late '80s or whatever, early '90s when I was coaching, and so the conversations were about things like that. And my age now they're a little bit different, and the guys they appreciate that. And so we have I get on there and do make ESPN and make the old ESPN sound, out in practice field loud when somebody makes a great play, and it seems like they appreciate the things I can talk to them about now at my age, and I've been with my professional experience, or my children or whatever, or a former player that had gone through some things, and there's a connection there, and I think that they know that Coach Solis and his staff, all of our guys here, have their best interest at heart, and so when we ask them to do things, they want to do them because they know that we have their best interest at heart. And so I'm getting back to the first thing again, but I've early years and to later years, I think that's kind of how I see it now.
Yeah, definitely. Coach, moving things forward and looking at a little bit at what you guys do on the field, and you do a lot inside zone, gap schemes. You run some option, of course, the play action. So especially when you start looking at guys up front, there's a lot to practice there. So how are you able to fit that all together so that you guys can not only be efficient with it in practice, but that you get the execution you need on game day?
Right. There's always that fine line, Coach. You're always looking for, how much is enough versus how much is too much, and and I'm on the NCAA rule, the 8 hours a week and 20 during the season I guess it's 20 hours a week, and they got to be fresh, and the legs got to be under them, so you're always battling that, getting everything in that you need, and so it's a constant dialogue with the staff. We try to keep it. The number one thing is we try to keep things the same as we can with the guys up front. Those 5 guys, here are our our run schemes and whatever they are. Okay, and then so they're not this week we're going to do pin and pull or whatever. We don't do a lot of things like that. Here are things that we do. If we can, a new formation or whatever, and try to keep those guys' rules the same. And, in our, Coach Rudolph does a great job with our offensive line. Does a phenomenal job. He's best. He's one of the best in the business on getting those guys ready to go and game day. Whew, man, he's a rock star. I'm gonna tell you on game day. He can. Sees it all from the field and get it adjusted. Wow. But we try to keep those guys, just for instance, a double team on maybe an inside zone and a double team on gap scheme. Try to keep those as similar as we can. So they get into combinations and whatever, and guard tackles going at it, getting together. They're working a couple plays. We're not a big outside zone team, but we run it and we try to. But we run a little bit of option too. And those were similar. So when tight end tackles are working together, hey, we're working 2 plays here. We're working, whatever the call is on the outside zone, and we're working whatever the call is on the option versus most runs. We try to keep little things like that, best we can. And then I think that the type of guys that we recruit here. In our philosophy, we got. Smart guys get better. And that whole, without getting into the whole recruiting process, the guys that we look for and target. Ohio University is a great academic institution, and we've got a great football team. A lot of guys that all of our guys are academic people. Not that nobody is not, but this week, this is what some of the wrinkles, and our guys are good enough to handle it, So I think that's one of the things that people want to know. How do you get all those things practice? And I think, man, anymore, just watching TV, golly, everybody's doing everything. Alabama runs every scheme known to man. They run out every scheme. Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma, those guys, they run a lot of different things. And so I think it's kind of the new wave thing. You see a lot of scheme stuff out there done today, and we have our share, but our guys just do a great job, and the coaching staff, it speaks volumes. But we try to do our best to, hey, 2 hours, we're out there 2 hours a day on Tuesday, 2 hours. That's a 15-minute stretch counted in that. So really, an hour and 45 minutes of practice, and then we're out there about an hour and 40 on Wednesday. And Thursday is we call it no sweat Thursday. We're not taped, straight walkthrough, but we're sweating mentally. If you can visualize that, and it's guys are on the edge of their seat, not talking and locked in, and we get a lot done with that practice side. So, and then they're fresh headed into the game. So I know that's kind of a long answer to your question, but that's what we've been doing here for all the last probably 7 or 8, 9 years, and it's worked well for us for sure.
And Coach, I know you recently put together some stuff on CoachTube, a series of courses focusing on the running back a little bit, ball protection, yards after contact, etc. I guess if you could give us an overview of the resources that you put together.
Yeah, you bet. The running back manual that I put out there is a 4-volume set, and I've been coaching the running back position my last year at Nebraska, and then so I'm in 17. So the last 19 years I've been coaching running backs, and obviously I've arguably worked for the greatest running back coach of all time, and Coach Solich. If you just go by guys that coaches worked with that went on to play professionally, he's put more guys in the league than anybody on planet Earth. Right? So you can fact check it. I know at one time he put more guys, and he's coached. Roger Craig. Mike Rozier. And let me back up here on that coach-player relationship. On coach. As far as practice, what he preaches as an assistant coach at Nebraska, running back coach at Nebraska, assistant when Coach Osborne was in charge, head coach. Coach Solich asked Roger Craig to play fullback for 1 year so they could play Mike Rozier. Roger Craig, he's in. San Francisco 49ers, 4 Super Bowls. Roger Craig, okay. Hey Roger, do you mind? Do you think Roger Craig's gonna? Jump? You want me to do what? Play fullback? But I'm a tailback, and but I think the coach-player relationship. That guy says he knows that. Hey, I trust Coach Solich. He's got my interest at heart. Okay, I will play fullback so we can play Mike Rozier. All right, now, you think about that for a second. And coach is big on coach-player relationship, and that's I think a perfect example. And so let me get back to the running back manual is I've again been around one of the best, and I've used. I've not the name drop, but Tom Rathen has helped me. I went to visit him in San Francisco and in Detroit when he was in Detroit. Now he just retired with the Colts, and he's been a great resource for me. As a running back coach, so many others that you try to exchange drill tape and things like that. So I try to do a laser clinic about every 2 years or something. They call and try to get it worked in. And one of the sessions I always do, I want to just talk running backs. I think it's a vital part of the offense, and not just when what are you doing when you don't have the ball in your hand? As you're in high school. A lot of times the best player is the running back or the quarterback, one of the two, a lot of times. And I think regardless of the running back position, the things that are on my manual, I do them. And I've got 5, 6 guys doing them here. I've got, the biggest guy we ever had here is 220 pounds. And I got 5 180. I got 5'10", 170. I got a 200. And the guys are, the drills, and you can get them doing in your backyard. You can be a single mom and do almost all but 3 of the drills maybe. And the pass pro, you're gonna need pads on. I got some unbelievable things tools that we use. And if you can be an effective pass pro guy at 170 pounds, because they do it right here in action. I got film of my 170 pound guy taking on SEC guys and Khalil Mack, and with some simple things. Now, again, to work some of those drills, you're going to need pads on, but the drills are structured where it's not a scrimmage, and there's only, guys only have so many train wrecks. There's only so many train wrecks in a student and a player anymore with, things. And so you can't just, everything just go, the Oklahoma drill, it can't. I mean, those that, you're going to have to, scale back where you can teach and it's not just all live. You got to go live, but you got to control the train wrecks. And in my group, the things on my video are great. There's about 3 things that you probably need pads on. 2 of them are going to be pass pro, and one of them's a tool for a runner. But the rest of them, you need some, a can of soup or a can of paint to put down, and a cone and a couple broom handles, if you can come across a set of tires or some ropes, and you get a ball in your hand and you get in there and listen to the me talking and giving my spiel. It doesn't matter, grade school, junior high, high school, college, or NFL, because that's where I got most of my drills. I think it will help. It'll help a running back, and guys in high school, just from a recruiting standpoint, there's some philosophy things on there. It's I want to think, golly, it's 4.5 hours of running back play.
Yeah,
I
counted it up, Coach. I think you undersold it there. It's closer to 6 hours across
really?
these 4 courses.
Well,
yeah, it's very comprehensive. Right. You've done a great job putting it together for sure.
Well, I think that where the coach tube thing is awesome is I go to a Glacier, guy will ask a question, and it's a great question, but you got a guy waiting to get in there. He talks next. And you can't cover the littlest things. There's so many things that I want to say, and you get ran out of there because the next guy's got to get up, and it's on schedule. I understand, it's all great. The beauty about this thing is, I stopped it and paused it and talked, and it was really like a release for me. Is that dumb to say? But it's there's a lot of little things on there that how we teach it, and that you won't get it at clinic because I'm not in a hurry to get so I can get to the next thing and get all the material covered so someone doesn't feel like they got shorted. It's on there, and a single parent mom, get that thing and take your son in the backyard and make him a better runner. Again, pass pro stuff probably not gonna. That's gonna be a little tougher to do. And then you combine it how we use it, how we grade it, and it's. I think it's a neat thing. Not to put a sales pitch on anybody, but I believe in it, and I'm passionate about it. I really am. And Frank, he always says, hey, the running backs they come in all different shapes and sizes. They all can't be 5'8", 165. They all can't be like that. But you got a productive guy, you get him some drills and, with the proper ball technique and teaching some toughness, you got something, and so I'm really, and I get more, at one of those clinics, I would do a scheme thing or whatever. And I would get more emails and calls on the running back stuff. And I tell the guys, I say, at the Glacier, I say, hey, I'm telling you, guys want to hear the running back guy talk because you don't see a lot of running back talks anymore. It's about everybody wants to talk. Hey, I want to know about the next RPO. I want to know, hey, you got any good RPOs? And that's kind of the hot thing, So anyway, I know I kind of overdid it there, Coach, but a lot of good things on that running back, Coach, and I got a great man that's taught me a lot.
Yeah.
So
well, I'll share.
It's definitely our.
I'll share that link for our listeners, I highly recommend it. Just a complete resource for the running backs. And Coach did put it together in a bundle there for you as well to all four of them to help you save some money. So I'll put that link in our show notes. Now, a quick story from me on Coach Solis. I've never met Coach, actually. But he went to my high school, Holy Name High School in the Cleveland area here. And when you walk in that door as a freshman, the first story you hear about is how Frank Solis beat Cathedral Latin in the charity game or a city championship. And, basically the way it was described, he did it on his own. He was a small little running back. And from there, this nickname beyond our mascot name, became the kind of thing for us. And when I went to school, I think 30 years after he was there, and it was still about what he did on that day and that team did to beat this powerhouse. Wow. And it was little David. It was David and Goliath, and even the paper had written it that way. So, like you said, the running backs can come in all different shapes and sizes, and he was a good one. He was a good one in high school, and went on and did that in college as well.
Yeah, man. Wow. That's a great story. I have been up to the high school before, and Coach was not with me, but when I rolled in there. I was paraded around. They wanted me to meet, some dignitaries, and they wanted to tell Coach Solis stories. Sure.
Yep. He's a legend there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Coach, you mentioned something before. Wanted to touch on that. In this profession, you got to be doing it for a loving and not a living. Could you expand on that for us?
Yeah, guys want to get in. They want to, some advice to give a young coach. You've got to be getting in this day and age. You've got to be getting in this profession to help the student athlete become a better person. And the coaching, and it's about. I want to get in it because I want to coach at, at Notre Dame or whatever. That's all and good, But just with the demand, and I'm not sure if luck's, you got to be in the right place at the right time, and some things got to happen, the right time. Timing, is huge on some things at a higher level. But I think the if you're doing it for a loving, not to make a living, then the room you're coaching, the team the offense that you're leading, or the defense, or the team that you're leading as a head coach, they are gonna, the old saying in the book, they don't care what you know until they know how much you care, right? And and when they know that you're doing it for a loving, because you love doing what you're doing, they are gonna go to the ends of the earth for you. And I promise you, on the holidays, I'm literally, if I'm not talking to my family, I'm talking to my family all day, because I'm either verbally with my family, or I am, texting former players and players and their families, and it is really awesome. It's really it's flattering. It's very humbling. Humbling is what it is, because you don't realize you touch some of the guys in the way you touched them. They're gone. Oh, and Coach, I just want you to, I still hear from several guys at Nebraska. I haven't been there in 20 years. It's been 20 years ago. My last year as a head coach. Those guys. I get somebody's texting me once a week. It seems like. And that is I'm very proud of those things. And as tired as I've been tired. This whole pandemic's been tough on everybody. But you come to work every day to make those guys better, and some days are better than others. But at the end of the day, it keeps me young, and vibrant. And my wife, I've been blessed. My wife, she's 13 years my younger, And so being around the student athletes, it helps me at home too with her. So,
Coach, last question I have for you is when you look at all the things you do as a coach, what's the one thing you really point to, that gives your guys the winning edge? And one thing we didn't mention here, Coach brought up Northwestern Oklahoma State, but he did win a national championship there in 1999 as the head coach. So he knows winning. He's been around winning his entire career. So looking at that all, though, Coach, what is it that gives your guys the winning edge?
Yeah, again, I don't want to repeat myself, but that the fuel for our culture, and guys know anybody. I mean, whether it's a student athlete or one of the trainers, they know when you're trying to blow smoke at them. And I am genuine. It's on my sleeve. I wear it on my sleeve. I am genuine. I'm Tim. I'm a man's man. It's not about fluff. You got to have some tough conversations, truthful conversations. You keep it real with them, and they know that you're not trying to pull one over on them just to get by something, and they just being genuine, authentic. I think what's my fingerprint is passionate, positive attitude, and trusting. PAT. My fingerprint, Tim Albin's fingerprint is PAT. Because I think the guys can see through if you're a phony, and so they appreciate it, and I think it speaks volumes to team success, and it spreads to the locker room, and you get guys bought into your culture, and you get the old sports car with full of gas, and let's go. So,
Coach, for our listeners, what areas do you recruit?
You bet. Okay. It's been over a year because of the pandemic, but I'm in Georgia, about 10 days in Georgia, and I have Oklahoma, Alabama, and then I'll do my very best to see in late spring the Ohio guys that we are on offense. That's kind of how we do it here. So I also handle the state of Kansas and the Kansas junior colleges. My wife's from Kansas. I'm from Oklahoma, as you had mentioned, and I got a lot of ties in that area. So that's where I spend my time in the spring, and then in the fall, being a coordinator, I don't get out until later in the season, but I'll be around trying to see the guys that we're recruiting on offense in the trail around I can get to in a car, not stay out of a plane. So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that.
Coach, what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you?
You bet. My email is my last name. That's Albin, first initial T, Albin T at ohio.edu. And I will say, if someone reaches out to me, and if I don't respond to that, then junk mail or clutter mail, I lose some things to that. So please, send it again, and I pride myself in trying to return every form of communication. It's hard, but I try to take a lot of pride in that, but just sometimes in the emails, they go to my junk or something, and I may not get them. So that's and if you call the secretary at the office up here, leave a voicemail with her, or a note with her, I will definitely get back in touch with you.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate your time and appreciate what you put together for coaches on CoachTube as well. And best of luck to you and the Bobcats in 2021.
Coach, thanks a lot for having me on. It's really an honor, and I'm humbled. Just thank you for what you're doing for the profession. And, I want to tell you thank you. It means a lot to me. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for listening to the Coach and Coordinator Podcast. Please, if you are enjoying the podcast, head over to iTunes or Spotify and click 5-star for a rate. If you have a minute, write a review. It really helps the podcast. Check out our new home for the Coach and Coordinator Podcast. That's at coachandcoordinator.com. And follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.